Today we will discuss the latest COVID vaccination and pre-boarding testing requirements of Carnival Cruise Lines. I'll be right back to go over all of the current information. Welcome back, and thanks for staying through the intro. If you're new to our channel, please click the subscribe button and the little bell, that way YouTube will let you know every time we upload a brand new video. So many people contact me that are confused about Carnival Cruise Lines, COVID vaccination and COVID testing policy. Today we will go over the latest information as of today, June 15, 2022. Please note that the info here are required and Carnival will not make any exceptions to the rules. Let's start with the myth that Carnival and other cruise lines are just trying to make it hard to cruise or are just being overly cautious in listening to the Center for Disease Control or Prevention. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, the cruise lines hate having to have these policies. Not only does it keep lots of people who do not believe in COVID vaccination from buying cruise vacations, but they also have to pay a small fortune in pier-side staffing in order to verify and enforce the rule. Simply put, the cruise lines can't afford not to abide by the CDC's guidance. Should they not implement the CDC rules and then an outbreak happen on board a ship, they risk another mandatory shutdown, something that the cruise lines probably would not be able to recover from. Remember, cruise lines are a business and have to take the better safe than sorry policy. To make this video easier, I am going to break it down into 3 parts: vaccinated guests, vaccination waivers for unvaccinated guests, and pre-cruise COVID testing policies. The timestamp to jump to those parts are on your screen now. Before we begin, did you know you can get Greek cruise-related t-shirts at a discount? For the next 2 weeks we are offering a 20% discount on all of our great t-shirts. We have tees with all of the latest cruise line brands, cruising fun, and even group cruise custom shirts. Just visit www.cruisegarb.com to get your t-shirts today. So, let's first talk about vaccination. With the exception of a small percentage of passengers who may qualify for a waiver, which we will discuss, all cruise passengers must be vaccinated, preferably with a booster, if qualified, in order to board a Carnival cruise ship. Vaccinated cruises are available for guests who have received their final dose of an approved COVID-19 vaccine at least 14 days prior to the sailing day, not counting embarkation day, and have proof of vaccination. Additionally, the CDC has strongly recommended that individuals obtain a COVID-19 booster vaccination when eligible. Should the CDC definition of fully vaccinated evolve to require the booster shot, Carnival's policy will adapt accordingly. Consequently, Carnival also strongly encourage all guests who are eligible to get their booster vaccine. Boosters may be required for specific voyages based on duration or destination requirements. The following voyages require fully vaccinated guests, ages 12 and older, who are more than 6 months past the last dose of their initial vaccine series, to be boosted in order to sail. Carnival Pride and Carnival Celebration Europe, all 2022 departures. Carnival Splendor, 23-day Carnival Journey, Trans-Pacific, September 6, 2022. Guests must present an original vaccination record issued by the country's health authority, i.e., U.S. CDC's vaccination record card. A digital COVID-19 certificate, QR code, a record of COVID-19 vaccination from a healthcare provider, original digital email, and a personal electronic health record or government immunization information system record is also acceptable. Copies or photos are not accepted. The name and birth date on the vaccination record must match the guest's travel documents. The vaccination dates must indicate the guest has completed the required doses no later than 14 days prior to the sailing date, not including embarkation day. Vaccine type, dates administered, and lot numbers must be clearly visible. When required, booster dose must also be reflected on vaccination records. Carnival recommends guests have the contact information of the healthcare provider or clinic site that issued the certificate, in order to validate the vaccination record, if needed. A vaccination registry site may also be used. Now, there are some exceptions for unvaccinated guests. While I will go over the official information, the main takeaway is that only a very small amount of the passengers in a cruise ship will be approved for a vaccination waiver. You can't even apply for the waiver until after your cruise is paid in full, and your odds of having the waiver granted, regardless of the reason for the request, is very small. Vaccine exemptions are limited to a small number of guests, ages 5 and above, and are capacity controlled based on the total number of vaccinated guests projected to be on board. Children under 5 are not required to apply for a vaccine exemption. However, they must still follow requirements for unvaccinated guests, including pre-cruise and embarkation day testing. Requests are not guaranteed and will be processed after the booking is paid in full, in sailing date order, and once Carnival has finalized the estimated vaccinated guest count. Requirements for cruise ships to enter ports outside the United States continue to evolve, and Carnival Cruise Line will approve exemptions in compliance with these regulations, as indicated next. Vaccine exemptions for cruises to the Caribbean will be limited to a very small number of children ages 5 to 11, and teens and adults with a medical condition preventing their vaccination. Carnival sailings from Florida, Texas, Louisiana, Maryland, South Carolina, Alabama, New York, and Virginia will operate under these criteria, with the assumption that current restrictions imposed by destinations will remain in place. Vaccine exemptions for ships departing from California, not calling on Canada, will be accommodated for children ages 5 through 11 and as required by United States federal law, in accommodation of medical reasons and sincerely held religious beliefs. Vaccine exemptions for sailings to Canada will be accommodated for children 5 through 11 and for medical reasons, in accordance with destination requirements. Vaccine exemptions for cruises to Bermuda, Europe, transatlantic and transpacific will be accommodated for children ages 5 through 11 traveling with fully vaccinated parents and guardians, in accordance with destination government requirements. On Panama Canal cruises of 16 days or longer, vaccine exemptions will only be accommodated as required by United States law and destination requirements. Unfortunately, vaccine exemptions are not granted for unvaccinated minors under 12. If you are an unvaccinated guest, your reservation is not considered confirmed unless you receive an approved exemption. Exemptions are typically approved starting 90 days prior to sailing, in the order in which they were received. If Carnival is unable to approve your request, you will have the option to cancel the unvaccinated guests from a reservation, move to a future sailing date, or cancel with a full refund to the original form of payment. Unfortunately, Carnival cannot assist with expenses related to a denied exemption request, and guests assume all risks related to non-refundable travel costs, i.e., airfare, hotel, etc. Guests whose exemptions are approved will be required to review and agree to all the restrictions and protocols prior to boarding the ship. The number of exemptions Carnival is able to grant is far fewer than the requests they receive. While the decision to vaccinate yourself or your children is obviously a personal one, if you want to guarantee your ability to sail together, Carnival encourages you to consider your vaccination options. Shore excursions and destination requirements. Unvaccinated guests going ashore will have to abide by the following requirements. Guests age 12 and older cannot visit ports of call on their own and may only go ashore if booked on a Carnival shore excursion. At the conclusion of the excursion, guests are encouraged to return to the ship. However, they may also enjoy dining and shopping in the port facility area. In the event guests choose not to purchase a Carnival tour, they will have to remain on board. Children age 11 and under are not required to purchase a Carnival shore excursion and may go ashore with their vaccinated parents/guardians to enjoy independent sightseeing. If a cruise visits a private port of call, such as Half Moon Cay and Princess Cays, guests may go ashore on their own or purchase any of our excursions. The following destinations have imposed certain restrictions, and Carnival cannot guarantee that more will not be added. San Juan. Based on our agreement with the destination, guests will have to remain on board. Cartagena, Colombia. Age 18 and older will have to remain on board. Grand Turk. Age 16 and older will have to remain on board. Bonaire. Age 12 and older will have to remain on board. Grand Cayman. Age 12 and older will have to remain on board. St. Kitts. Age 12 and older will have to remain on board. Tortola. Age 12 and older will have to remain on board. If after reviewing all the protocols and requirements for unvaccinated guests and a vaccine exemption, you meet the criteria and wish to request an exemption, please submit an application. Travel insurance, Florida, Texas, South Carolina, and Virginia-based ships for unvaccinated guests. Unvaccinated guests sailing on a ship departing from these states must show proof of travel insurance coverage during check-in. This requirement is currently being waived for children under 12. However, parents are advised that purchasing travel insurance for their children is strongly recommended. Please take note of the following policy requirements. Policy minimum, $10,000 per person in medical expense coverage and $30,000 coverage for emergency medical evacuation and without COVID-19 exclusions. The insurance policy must name the unvaccinated guest as the policyholder or beneficiary and may be purchased from a travel insurance company of the guest's choosing or through Carnival Vacation Protection, which includes the required coverage. Carnival Vacation Protection is available for purchase until 14 days prior to sailing for guests residing in the United States, excluding New York and Puerto Rico, Canada, excluding Quebec, United States Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, St. John and St. Croix, and American Samoa. Note, your booking must be paid in U.S. currency. Should you wish to purchase Carnival Vacation Protection, please call 1-800-CARNIVAL, your personal vacation planner, or your travel advisor. Unvaccinated guests without the required proof of insurance will not be permitted to sail and no refund will be provided. I am also putting a link to Insure My Trip in the description of this video. Using this link will not only give you a discount on your travel insurance, but will also support our channel. Testing requirements. Okay, now, let's talk about pre-cruise testing. First, if you have recently recovered from COVID with documentation. Guests who have recovered from COVID-19 within 3 months of their sailing date do not need the required pre-cruise test if they are at least 10 days past their positive test result date, have no symptoms and produce document of recovery from COVID-19. A document of recovery is accepted from both fully vaccinated and unvaccinated guests, with a Carnival-approved exemption, and consists of a paper or electronic copy of the positive viral test result from a certified laboratory, dated no more than 90 days prior to the sailing date. Note that this has changed. As stated, the proof needs to be from a certified laboratory. A letter from your treating physician is no longer listed as acceptable proof of recovery. Next, let's talk about testing requirements for fully vaccinated guests only. Except where destination requirements differ *, guests who are up to date with their vaccines may take their test within 3 days prior to sailing. Up to date means a guest has received all recommended COVID-19 vaccinations, including any booster dose, when eligible. Example, for a sailing departing on Saturday, guests may take their test as early as Wednesday and as late as Saturday morning, if guaranteed to receive results in time for check-in. If a guest is fully vaccinated but not up to date with their vaccines, they must take their pre-cruise COVID-19 test within 2 days prior to sailing. If you are eligible for a booster and have not received one, you are not considered up to date. Example, for a sailing departing on Saturday, guests may take their test no earlier than Thursday and as late as Saturday morning, if guaranteed to receive results in time for check-in. Bermuda and Canada, fully vaccinated guests traveling to Bermuda and Canada, including those who are up to date with their vaccines, can take either a PCR test within 72 hours prior to sailing, or an antigen test no earlier than 2 days prior to sailing, in order to comply with CDC and destination regulations. Prior to traveling to the cruise terminal, guests should review their test results to ensure they include their full legal name, date of birth, type of test, date and time sample was taken, test results stating negative or not detected in laboratory, testing site, and/or healthcare provider details. Handwritten test results are not acceptable. Please refer to our COVID-19 FAQs for complete information on testing requirements and resources. Now, let's talk about unvaccinated guests only. Guests age 2 and older must present a negative PCR COVID-19 test, taken within 72 and 24 hours prior to the sailing date at check-in. For example, if the sailing is on Saturday, the test may be taken any time from Wednesday through Friday, but not on the morning of embarkation. Unvaccinated guests, age 2 and older, must also take an antigen test at embarkation. On cruises longer than 4 days, guests will be tested again within 24 hours of debarkation. Guests traveling on back-to-back cruises will need to be tested in between voyages. Irrespective of voyage length, antigen testing will be provided on a complimentary basis to children ages 2 to 4. Children ages 5 to 11 will be charged $60 per person, and guests ages 12 and older will be charged $150 per person on their onboard sail and sign account. Prior to traveling to the cruise terminal, guests should review their pre-cruise test results to ensure it includes their full legal name, date of birth, type of test, date and time sample was taken, test results stating negative or not detected in laboratory, testing site, and/or healthcare provider details. Handwritten test results are not acceptable. Please refer to our COVID-19 FAQs for complete information on testing requirements and resources. And that's the latest for Carnival Cruise Line's vaccination and testing requirements. Again, Carnival will not make any exceptions to these rules. These requirements were correct as of June 18, 2022. Always check with Carnival for any changes before you set sail. Before you go, please click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Unless cruise news breaks out beforehand, we will see you soon upon the Lido deck.